Hey class, it is Mrs. Gilling here, and it is time for your Unit 2 Numero Dos video assignment. And this one is about the first project you have, all about applying the scientific method. Exciting, right? Before we get to the excitement, though, it is time for the joke of the unit. Okay, a client comes for his first therapy session. He has a small cucumber up his nose, a carrot in his left ear, and a banana in his right ear. Can you help me figure out what's wrong with me? He asks the therapist. The therapist replies, You're not eating properly. Get it? Because he's putting food in the wrong places. All right. Eating properly, that's the story of my life right now. I'm trying to get my kids to eat more vegetables. And let me tell you what, they definitely start shoving carrots up their noses in their ears. So I totally can relate to kids not eating properly. It's a thing in our house. So maybe that's why I felt like you needed to learn more about this joke. All right, moving on. Let's learn more about your project and what you have to look forward to here. So here's a little bit of background on the project. This project is your chance to imagine being a psychological scientist. Imagine you have made an observation in your everyday life. Here's your observation. After arguing with your sister, you seem to calm down more quickly when sitting in your living room. Your living room is painted blue, and you recall that blue is supposed to be a calming color. Is this true? You want to find out for yourself if people feel calmer after they see the color blue. You want to find the answer to this question. Does the color blue make people feel calmer? So that's your research question. Does the color blue make people feel calmer? And here's some more directions. Here's your project steps. So before I get too into the project steps, just know this project is all in the course. You don't have to do this on like a separate Google Doc or anything. You will type your answers all in the course. I believe it's in lesson 6. You will do the first 3 steps, the first 4 steps, excuse me, and then in lesson 7, I believe, you're going to do 5 and 6. You'll answer those. So here's your project steps. First of all, you have 2 multiple choice questions, and they're worth 10 points each. The first one is in order, what are the 4 steps involved in the scientific method? So before you even do your project, you can go look those up, find them in your study in your workbooks and be ready to answer that multiple choice question. The second one is what is systematic replication? So just by answering those 2 questions, and again, you can go back and find the answer. I don't care. This isn't a test. There's no reason why you can't use your materials here. So make sure to get the answer right. But go back and find these answers to these multiple choice questions. What are the 4 steps involved in the scientific method, and what is systematic replication? After that, you have some short answer responses, and each one is worth 20 points. The first one is this. Your research question is, does the color blue make people feel calmer? Using what you have learned about the scientific method, explain in 2 to 3 sentences what your hypothesis is for your research question and how you could test your hypothesis. So 2 parts here. First of all, you need your hypothesis. Your hypothesis should be a statement, not a question. You already have a research question. Now you're making a statement. Your best educated guess on what you think will happen. So if you think blue makes people feel calmer, your hypothesis is my hypothesis is the color blue makes people feel calmer. If you don't think the color blue will make people feel calmer, then your hypothesis would be, I don't think the color blue will make people feel calmer. So then you got to come up in your idea, just an imaginative idea of a test you could do to test your theory. So think of a way you could test whether or not blue makes people feel calmer and put your test idea in that text box. You don't have to actually do the test, you're just sharing what you might do if you did complete a test for it. Make sure that you're using complete sentences. You need to have at least 2 to 3 sentences. Make sure you're checking your grammar and doing well there. The next step is in 2 to 3 sentences, describe how you could ensure your test will have external validity. So you will learn about external validity in this unit. And one of the biggest things I want you to pay attention here is whether or not you need to use systematic or direct replication. I want to hear you mention one of those in this because they have to do with external validity. How can you make sure that your test results can be applied to a broader group of people, that they can be generalized to a bigger group of people? So I need to understand that you know what external validity is by the way you answer this question. So how can you repeat your test to make sure it has external validity? Again, make sure you're using 2 to 3 sentences. The next step, they're going to give you some hypothetical information. Imagine that you tested 20 high school students, 15 male, 5 female. 12 males and 4 females reported feeling a calming effect after exposure to the color blue. In 2 to 3 sentences, explain what conclusions could be drawn from this information. So, looking at that information, what do you think about your hypothesis? Is it holding up? Is the color blue making people feel calmer? Does it make males feel calmer more? Females feel calmer more? Is it the same calm? Just list your conclusions here. What did you learn from the information you were given? And again, do that in 2 to 3 sentences. Make sure if you're going to use percentages here that you double check your math. A lot of students make some mistakes here because they do the percentages wrong. If you have questions about how to check the percentages out, let me know. But make sure you're double checking your math here so you get the correct answer if you choose to go the mathematical way. Then the last question. Imagine that you tested 20 high school students, 15 male, 5 female. 12 males and 4 females reported feeling a calming exposure to the color blue. In 2 to 3 sentences, explain how you could repeat this test in a different way to prove that the design was internally valid and reliable. So earlier you talked about external validity. In this question, you're going to talk about internal validity. So again, I want you to talk about either systematic or direct replication. Which one of those has to do with internal validity? So I really want to know that you know how to repeat your study to make sure that it's internally valid and reliable. And then that's it. Make sure you're double checking your grammar and your spelling. But this is something, again, you're going to submit within the course. You don't have to do it on a separate piece of paper. The boxes will come up. One note I do need to tell you is that when you're in the first lesson where it has you do the first 4 parts, it'll give you a spot to do it, but there's no submit button. That's because you submit it at the very end of when you're completely done with it, after you've done the 6th step. So when you're completely done, that's where there's a submit part. So you'll have a box where you can click to answer the other ones there, but there won't be a submit button. I get a lot of messages. Hey, Ms. Gilling, I don't know how to submit it. Take a deep breath. Just put in the stuff that you're asked to for the first 4 parts, and then just know that in the next lesson you'll do 5 and 6, and then the step 2 is what it is. You're answering their next 2 questions, and then you'll submit it at the end of that. And you'll have a chance, if you would like, to go back and look at what you did for the previous one before you submit. So how will this be graded? I guess that slide's not there. So I look at, these are the point values. Like I said, you get 10 points for each of the multiple choice questions and then 20 points for each of these short responses. I'm going to look at your accuracy. Did you get the answer right? I'm going to look at completeness. Did you answer it all the way? So for instance, if it's a 2-part question, did you answer both parts of the question? And then I'm going to look at, did you make sure your grammar looked good? Because if you're writing a scientific paper, right, it's really important that your grammar is correct. Otherwise, it can distract people from what you're writing. So it is important to check those things. So this is your first project. I am excited to see what you guys come up with. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.